we're back here with Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. Oh, that's right. Sorry. Since my computer recently crashed, I had to replay the progress we had made in case 4 up to this point, which is why we're not at the point right past this. Sorry, it was Yuri. Take that! Last time we just supposed that the possibility that Yuri be the killer by pointing out the whole doohickey of, you know what? There was only one heckin' person who could have heckin' gone through that heckin' security gate, and it was he. Where are my notes? Right, I had a few notes. Now that I found them. So Yuri Cosmos, obviously Cosmos, we've got the space thing there. But I was wondering if there's another bit of a play on words there. The Eureka part of it sounds a bit like Eureka, and Yuri Cosmos could sound like Yuri caused most of this, if he's the killer. Another note is I had a hunch that turned out to be wrong. It would seem that his badge was in fact struck by a bullet, because I looked back at the old picture that had the group of all the astronauts, and there was no extra star in that one. So something to bear in mind is that he was totally legit about that being like a dent from a bullet. That is a new thing. Presumably recent. And the other question I had is, if you had a gun, why would you stab someone? I guess just because it's quieter, but if you were intending to just go and stab someone, why would you even bring a gun? Because that would just make you seem the most suspicious possible. Also, because I just reinstalled everything because my system crashed, I didn't have time, I didn't remember to set the window, the NVIDIA things that this little icon doesn't appear in the corner here. So if you can see this, ignore it. I'll fix it by the next time we're playing. I don't want to stop the recording now. Anyway, so let's just we're like 3 lines of dialogue behind where we were, so let's just carry on here.
What? But that's Mr. Wright. What are you claiming here?
Of all the people who were at the scene, only the witness could have escaped. The director is the only one with the authority to open the control room door, after all.
But that means...
Exactly. The true identity of the third person is our current witness, Director Yuri Cosmos.
What?
What? Athena, you had like 3 weeks to mull us over while I wasn't playing this game. How is this still surprising to you?
Order in the court, I say. Mr. Wright, you explain yourself in more detail.
I assert that Director Cosmos arrived at the scene before Detective Arm and entered the boarding lounge alone. Detective Arm arrived after that and saw a suspicious figure who was actually Director Cosmos standing in the lounge. And that's why she fired those 2 warning shots.
I've been hit on the starboard side.
Captain Wright! It's a direct hit on the enemy ship, sir! A magnificent shot!
Warning shots fired from the enemy ship. Prepare to intercept.
Cosmos, you have told a lie in this court once again.
I've been hit! I've been hit on the port side! The enemy has called in reinforcements!
Well, port side from our perspective, right? No, starboard is right, sorry. Earth to Cosmos Control Center, requesting permission to ask that you return to reality.
But my ship will not go down to anything less than the ultimate weapon of evidence.
Objection! But I do have evidence. In fact, you could say that your battleship bears its scar.
Well,
if Director Cosmos is the third person Aura Blackwell saw, this third person fired at Detective Arm and Director Cosmos with their gun, and in return, the detective fired her warning shots. Isn't that how it really went down, Director Cosmos?
It looks like you've deduced my miraculous tale of survival. Yes, you're absolutely correct. The mystery person fired upon us.
Director Cosmos must have been the one who fired the 10 caliber gun. When Detective Arm discovered him in the lounge, it only makes sense that he would have turned and shot at her. Therefore, the evidence on the director's body is of a different kind of relevance than before. Once we compare it against another piece of evidence, the mark that you received from the third party will be all the proof we need to prove that you were the one there in the lounge.
Wait for further impact.
Comparison against this piece of evidence will prove that you were the one in the lounge. Is he getting at the oxygen tank? I'm not 100% sure here, actually, and I'd like to keep we haven't messed up a single one in this entire case so far, so I'd like to keep that streak going. Whoa, hey! I can't believe I only just noticed that this dial was in the other position on the security tape. I don't think that's relevant to the point I'm trying to prove here, but we should absolutely remember that. Right, well, okay, I guess what he's getting at is the air tank, because what I think he's trying to say is... Do I have the floor plan, please? Right, if Cosmos was here and Candace was here, and she fired 1, 2, like one at him, hit his badge and then hit the ground. And then one that missed and hit the window here. And he fired at her and it hit the drain ditch here. It was dark. None of them were shooting well, okay? Then that accounts for the positioning of all 3 bullets. And, right, because, well, they say that the oxygen tank was struck by a bullet, but I don't know that we know that for damn sure. Well, you know, he didn't say it hit my badge and bounced off. He said it ricocheted. So I guess what they're getting at is that it hit the badge and then ricocheted into the floor and hit the tank. Because that's the only other way to account for the position of that bullet. Because we know there was a bullet in here and then a bullet in here, and then the other bullet was shot at the person in the middle, but then ended up piercing the tank. And unless we had an extra bullet in there somewhere that got shot at the tank, that's impossible. So it had to have been that this one bullet served the 2 purposes. It hit his badge and then ricocheted into the tank. I'm pretty sure is what they're getting at.
Take that!
And what would you like to say about that piece of evidence, Mr. Wright?
Huh? Oh, I would like to say that this is not it!
Mr. Wright, please only present evidence that you think is it.
Damn it! That was... God damn it! First thing present back of the episode, and I've already broken our streak. I guess that really wasn't it. But I am sure the third person was Director Cosmos. Comparison against this piece of evidence will prove that you were the one in the launch. Well, I guess this bullet could prove the same point, but in a different way. And we've had it before where there have been 2 evidence pieces that, like, blatantly prove the same point, but they only wanted you to pick one. Okay, it's the same point. The tank was struck by the bullet after it ricocheted off his badge. That's what I was saying. Whatever. Oh, wait, what? The .38 caliber bullet found on the floor at the scene didn't hit the oxygen tank. Well, that was what I said at first, but it says it hit the oxygen tank. Obviously, it's ridiculous that it would ricochet off the badge and into the thing. Obviously, it just hit the thing and then slammed into the ground. But it says it was struck by a bullet. I assumed they verified that and didn't just lie their asses off. Whatever. The .38 caliber bullet found on the floor at the scene didn't hit the oxygen tank. It hit Director Cosmos' metal. If we have that ricochet mark on the metal analyzed, I'm sure the caliber will match up. And if that mark proves to be from a .38 caliber bullet, it will prove that you are the third person we've been looking for.
The bridge is destroyed! Using altitude, our hands are in ship!
If that's true, then what about the bullet that hit the oxygen tank? It was the .10 caliber bullet. In other words, it was the bullet fired by Yuri Cosmos. Isn't that right, Director? Oh, and it exploded and fell into the gutter? That makes a bit more sense, I guess. Because if you'd shot it at the wall, there would be a dent on the wall or something. Sorry, that's a very logical conclusion to come to, actually.
You've got it all wrong! What? The engine just started again! It's a miracle! I'm not going down yet!
That means he's found something else to try and just counter us with?
Witness, stop this at once and confess the truth!
If you don't want the history books to say that a great man was a great liar,
Then accept your fate and tell the truth!
Are you giving me orders? Me? But the cosmos revolves around me!
it doesn't actually.
Someone get me off this thing! I'm gonna be sick! Bailiff, get a sick bucket! Order! Order in this court! And will someone please stop the witness from spinning?
My first thought was that obviously it would be ridiculous for it to hit that and then suddenly just go like 80 degrees down and hit the tank. So it probably just the tank was stabbed or by something else, and then the bullet hit him and just dropped there, and everyone thought that it got shot by that. But then I looked at the evidence and it didn't say appeared to have struck. It just says was struck. I just forgot that we didn't actually prove that.
Thank goodness we were able to stop him from spinning off the face of the earth.
While he was twirling, I took the liberty of running an analysis on the mark on the metal.
How?
It was made by a .38 caliber bullet, matching it with the size of Detective Arm's firearm.
Shut up! Are you ready to confess the truth, witness? You've got it all wrong. It's just a misunderstanding.
Is he gonna start piling on more lies?
It looks like it. But no matter how many lies he tells, I'll just expose them one by one. I'll make that big liar tell the truth. Apollo hates injustice, but Phoenix hates bullies, so he ain't gonna let that stand. But there's already down to a part 2? Interesting. Day 2, part 2, let's see about these. Episode 4, the Cosmic... Oh, God, it loaded really fast. Yes, what's happening? I wonder why there was a checkpoint there.
Director Cosmos,
Sorry, that was a bit more Cosmos itself.
Director Cosmos, a new possibility has been presented by the defense. They are claiming that you were this third person. Forgive me, I'm so sorry.
So the great pioneer of space development is revealed to be just another fabulous cur. I only have one question for the likes of you. Shall I send you off quickly or very quickly? Please don't give the witness death threats. The evidence doesn't lie, Director Cosmos, so don't try to talk your way out of this.
Fine, I'll tell you the truth. It's all just as you said, Mr. Wright. It's true that I was there in the boarding lounge. I got there before Detective Armand, and once she arrived, she fired warning shots at me. Phew! It made a big loud noise. I was afraid people were...
Oh, right, she didn't miss. She fired warning shots to Dewey.
I was afraid people would mistake me for the killer, so I escaped to the control room. I then went past the elevators and all the way around to the boarding lounge again.
What's A? Aura?
I came up behind Detective Armand and pretended to be the second one on the scene.
Oh, I see. What a troublesome old man you are with such convoluted deeds and thoughts. It's been like 40 minutes since he was all like, "You're the greatest ever, I love you so much." He's so two-faced sometimes.
I see. So then, are you still insisting that you did not kill the victim? Of course I am. When I arrived at the lounge alone, I saw the true killer. The great Yuri Cosmos was a history-making witness.
Hold it! Now hold on just one moment. We just proved a few minutes ago that the third person that Mr. Starbuck and Miss Aura Blackwell saw was you.
No, it wasn't me. I saw the person as well. If I was a killer, why would I lie to cover for Starbuck?
To make you look innocent.
I would just leave him to dig the floor.
That is an excellent point.
All I wanted to do was protect Starbuck. I said I was in the control room to rent an escape route for the third person.
Well, it makes some sense if he told those lies to cover for Mr. Starbuck. Still, a lie is a lie, Athena. So Director Cosmos claims he's not the culprit, but where's the proof?
I just remembered. I have an alibi. Miss Blackwell said that she saw the killer at 10 a.m., correct?
I don't remember her saying that, but probably she did if you're saying that. I mean, it doesn't mention it in her statement. What makes you say that? Yes, and?
Well, I was on the 4th floor helping with the evacuation efforts. Ask any member of the staff you'd like. They'll corroborate me.
So how long was the killer there that they weren't there at 10 a.m. when you allegedly weren't there, but were there when you got back? How long does it take to stab someone through a horribly impractical spacesuit? The director is not fibbing to the court, for once. I confirm that he has an alibi for the time specified. So, you're claiming that Miss Blackwell saw the killer commit the crime first at 10 a.m.? Yeah, you're claiming that. I don't think she ever said that to us. Or I don't remember her saying that. Autopsy report, help me. No mention of time of death. Is there anything anywhere that mentions 10 a.m.? Just realized I left my phone somewhere. Sorry, I'm gonna go get it. Found it. It was in between my mattress and my bed frame. I'll hear you out on this, but I don't actually remember her saying that. And that you arrived on the lounge after that.
Yes, and I believe the person I saw is the same person that Miss Blackwell saw. Although it was pitch black, so it was more of a shadowy figure and less of a person.
And yet the body's face was so clear to see. I don't get that at all.
And I couldn't actually see their face, but it was definitely the silhouette of an Earthling.
So it wasn't a robot.
As long as he has an alibi, we can't very well claim Director Cosmos was the killer.
I did just have the thought, though, that, I mean, Murphy's Law or whatever, is that the one that robots aren't allowed to hurt humans? Or is that just, no, that's the law that if something will go wrong, can go wrong, it will, right? I think it's just called the laws of robotics. Anyway, I don't know if those robots that Aura built adhere to that, so it just occurred to me that someone could have remotely used a robot as the killer, and then they wouldn't have been in the room at the time. Anyway, let's not worry about that for now. But they've made a big point of these robots. It's just occurred to me.
We can't very well claim Director Cosmos was the killer.
No, we can't. Then again, maybe we don't need to yet. I wonder if he was really covering for Mr. Starbuck. Your Honor, the defense moves to have the director testify about the person he saw.
Very well. Director Cosmos, your testimony, please.
I would like some information. Anything you saw a silhouette, that must tell you something. A rough height, defining hair. Half the characters in this series are wearing, like, super reflective glasses or earrings or clothes that probably glow.
What I really witnessed. As I tried to enter the lounge, the true killer inside fired a gun at me.
You're right, because he's now stipulating that it wasn't... Wait, huh?
I hid to avoid getting shot, but when I tried to get another look, they had vanished into thin air.
And that's when you got them? dent in your patch?
I was near the elevator side door, and well, the launchpad 1 door and the control room door should have been strapped tight to the killer.
Still that garbage chute we haven't looked at yet. So you were shot by the killer as well, and then they disappeared.
Yes, though luckily no harm came to my glorious bullet.
So did it hit the same spot, or?
Unfortunately, the bullet hit Terran's oxygen tank. I know because I heard a pang. That must have been the sound of the tank being ruptured.
Wait, but I thought the bullet hit his metal. That was Detective Arm's bullet, remember? Right. What a mess this is turning into. So let's see. Thank you for summing this up for me, Athena. Director Cosmos is claiming that when he found Mr. Terran and his killer, the culprit shot a 10 caliber bullet at him. Right, but it actually hit Mr. Terran's oxygen tank and ruptured it. So it did bounce off his bullet? If we're gonna find out that it did bounce off his bullet and I jumped the gun on that, I'm gonna be so upset. Yeah, jump the gun, get it? And then the killer disappeared and the director went into the boarding lounge. When Detective Arm caught up and fired those warning shots at him. Judging by his medal, it looks like one of them almost took him out too. Oh. I sort of see what they're going for, but then why the hell did the bullet... How could you possibly... So they're saying Terran wasn't dead yet at that point. Because only if he was standing up could you shoot a bullet standing up this way and have it go hit his oxygen tank, because otherwise his oxygen tank is at floor level. Or, again, that 10 caliber bullet hit his metal and hit into the oxygen tank, except we know that's false because Blackwell just told us that the markings match up with Arm's gun. How the hell do you stand in the middle of the room? Especially, I don't know if this is like specifically telling us that Terran is to the left of the culprit here, but I cannot fathom how you could possibly, A, how you could possibly shoot at him and have it hit the oxygen tank, and B, if the oxygen tank exploded sending the bullet over here, wouldn't you have had to hit it from this side so that it exploded outward? There's so much about that I just don't get at all. Judging by his medal, it looks like one of them almost took him out too. Good summary, but that doesn't explain where our mystery killer went. Director Cosmos, I was wondering if you could... Oh, I just had a thought. Since it's now come to my attention that this thing was in a different position. Ah, shucks. I was hoping we could see the garbage disposal here. Maybe this switch is what opens it. Anyway, Director Cosmos, I was wondering if you could elaborate on when the figure disappeared.
I'm ashamed to admit I tried to hide myself when I was shot at, but when I peeked back in the lounge, the real killer was gone. I rushed into the lounge straight away to investigate, but what I found was Terran with a knife in his chest and Starbuck out cold on the floor. So we have a culprit who vanished from a scene that had no escape route. Vanished without a trace. It's truly like one of the great mysteries of the cosmos.
Silence! A riddle of the ages indeed, but I'd rather know how a fibbing leech such as you can be lauded as great.
A great man is always misunderstood in his own time, but he must remain true to himself, even if those around him don't understand.
Wow, that might be the first true statement he said all day. But how do you suppose this person managed to vanish so suddenly? Simple, because it was Space Boy himself. When he was spotted by the director Nora, he quickly feigned unconsciousness. That would certainly take all the mystery out of the idea of a vanishing culprit. Where did he find? Where's this gun go, hey? I want to raise an objection, but I don't have any counter evidence. See, the thing is, if this 10 caliber gun wasn't found, the only thing that could have really happened to it probably was that it went down the garbage chute. And the second Blackwell says, well, he threw it down the garbage chute, obviously, we can be like, well, then couldn't the real killer have jumped down the garbage chute? And then all we have to do is investigate the garbage chute, and it's fine. Send the bailiff to, like, sprint over there and check for traces of whatever. Director Cosmos, when you saw this person, did you also see Mr. Starbuck on the floor?
No, because it was as dark as a black hole in there. I didn't see Starbuck until the other person vanished and then I entered the room.
And how this shit did over Blackwell see Terra on the floor?
I'm prepared to accept your surrender, right, Dono? Hey, I only lost 1 bit of health. That doesn't seem fair. I can't find any holes in this testimony, but I can't give up. Mr. Wright, why don't you let me help? Huh? While the director was giving his testimony, I detected a cacophony of discord. Really? Oh, thank God you're a lifesaver. Which means he's hiding his true feelings from us, huh? This just might help us find out what happened to our vanished killer. I've also had a pretty poor track record with these, which, again, you don't lose any health for them, so it's just embarrassing when it happens. That's the only problem with it. So I gotta try my hardest not to mess this one up this time. That'd be great, Athena. Let's see what we can do with him.
You got it, boss. I wouldn't want to miss this chance to delve into a great mind. Yay, Cosmos, prepare to hand over the secrets of your heart to me.
Can you do this without their consent? Because you're only making it sound like you're doing that.
Deep boop, weep.
Moon Matrix, engage!
As I tried to enter the lounge... What? That's a lot of sounds. The true killer inside fired a gun at me. I think these are reasonable responses to that. I would be in distress, I would be surprised, and I'd be pretty angry. I hid to avoid getting shot. But when I tried to get another look, they had vanished into thin air. You don't show any surprise at that, which is highly suspicious. It suggests to me that didn't happen. I was near the elevator side door, and well, the Launchpad 1 door, and the control room door should have been shut tight to the killer. Alright, so this, you being sad about looking at this door is interesting. Although that one strikes out as more obvious, but I think it's really weird that you wouldn't be surprised that someone vanished into thin air. It sounds almost like this theme sounds like, it sounds like a mix between like the intro to like a true crime show and like with a bit of classical, is it like Mozart that I'm thinking of? Which always with those little piano flourishes and stuff. I mean, I probably can describe a lot of classical musicians. Anyway, this seems the most suspicious. I assume what we're gonna get at here is that if you were sad that this was locked, then that suggests that this would be the only escape, which would mean that would suggest you were the killer, which is bad. But anyway, this seems to be the weird one. Got it! Correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem to be afraid of the Launchpad door.
The great Lord Cosmos, afraid? And what basis do you have for that outlandish accusation?
Whether I have any basis or not, you seem quite distressed by it.
I'm most certainly not.
Director Cosmos, there's something about the Launchpad door that you're not telling us, isn't there?
Wow, he's speechless. It looks like he hit the nail on the head, boss.
I mean, Widget did, really.
It's working, boss. One more punch and it'll be a knockout.
I think we want to be careful with our wording here. We're not trying to harm the witness.
There seems to be one more emotion that's at odds with his testimony. Go get him!
Okay, back in the Matrix it is. Time to pinpoint our way to victory. Is it the same testimony, though? Okay, in that case, there may be an opportunity for me to use the surprising one. You should have been surprised about this.
Got it!
You must have thought it was very strange that the killer vanished into thin air.
It is. That kind of thing just doesn't happen, usually.
I guess I agree, yeah? And yet at that time, you barely registered any shock at the occurrence. Sorry, I slurred a lot of that.
What? Why are you...
I can only think of one reason as to why you weren't surprised by the killer's vanishing act. You must have had a good idea of where they went. Isn't that right?
What? No, of course not. That's preposterous. Only I could enter the control room, and the area beyond the Launchpad door was filled with smoke, making it impassable. And as for the southern door, I was standing right there, so there was nowhere for the killer to run to.
Maybe, or maybe not. You went into the room to check on Mr. Starbuck and Mr. Terran, yes? What if the culprit took that opportunity to silently slip through the southern door?
I highly doubt it. As you recall, right after I entered the lounge,
Candace's arm was there.
Detective Ron came rushing towards us herself and revealed us as in the hallway. Anyone trying to escape through there would have been caught by her.
And yet the director wasn't surprised that the killer vanished. So you're absolutely sure there was no escape route for the culprit to use? I'll just input those 2 pieces of data and...
Yes, just what I wanted to see.
Still plenty of noise level.
Presto, Jinjo! Less discord! It looks like we're on the right track.
Thanks, Athena. Now to make sense of what we've learned. Director Cosmos wasn't surprised that the killer suddenly vanished from the lounge, which points to the possibility that he knew where the killer had escaped to. Furthermore, talking about the door to the Launchpad made him uneasy. In other words, he's probably hiding something about the Launchpad 1 door. When we put those 2 pieces together, only one solution to this puzzle comes to mind. I think he's trying to get at that they escaped through there and just survived the smoke somehow. But I feel like there are like 3 solutions that could come to mind here. Either that one, or the fact that he's the killer and he went through there at first, but then was scared of dying from smoke inhalation. And the third solution is that they went down the garbage chute because, well, never mind, because. I'm not sure if there's only one solution to this, but I think what he's saying is that Director Cosmos, did the real killer escape through here? I think he's saying the Launchpad 1 corridor, but to me, the trash chute is the only thing that would have any... I mean, the way he phrased it just now was like, he knew where the killer escaped to and he was afraid of... and he was hiding to the Launchpad 1 door. So, I guess Launchpad 1 door. Take that! The culprit went through the Launchpad 1 door to escape, didn't they?
Yes. I mean, no. A disaster's established. We're going to crash into an asteroid.
Master Tactician, you are not.
But the area beyond that door was filled with smoke, wasn't it?
True, but this is still the only logical answer there is. If we can just figure out what the director is hiding about the Launchpad 1 door, we should be able to iron out the logical inconsistencies. Oh, we know this room rotates, right? So is there any possibility that... it led to a different door at this point than when the murder occurred or something like that?
But that door requires fingerprint recognition. Only Starbucks Terror and I have access. I don't see how the killer could have escaped opening that security lock, do you?
That's an easy one. The killer was right there in the boarding lounge, meaning there's a way he could have easily gotten past the security lock. Come to think of it, we did examine the prints on the fingerprint recognition device and it only had Starbucks. I propose that the killer used this person's fingerprints to get past the security lock. That's an easy one.
Take that!
That's... Mr. Starbuck was lying unconscious there in the boarding lounge. Anybody could have easily gotten past the security lock by using Mr. Starbuck's prints. And actually, Mr. Starbuck's prints are exactly what we found on the device's screen. They kept mentioning how they took off one of the... Was it Terran's glove they took off? To ID him, right? Perhaps they did the same with Starbuck when they found him there. Or perhaps someone else took off Terran's glove because Starbuck's glove was already off and they wanted to make it seem like that was just something they were doing. Anyway. And actually, Mr. Starbuck's prints are exactly what we found on the device's screen. It looks like he does have something to hide up at the launch pad of one door. And I'm betting it's got something to do with the culprit's escape route. But I don't have enough information to see the whole picture yet.
You know, something just occurred to me. Would you like to hear it?
Huh? Oh, yes, by all means.
There's a security camera in boarding lounge 1, right?
Right, the one that recorded the victim and the defendant. What about it, Your Honor?
If the true culprit escaped into the launchpad 1 corridor, then that might be recorded on the security footage as well.
Unfortunately, it was all destroyed as far as we know.
Then the mystery would be solved. What do you think of my logic?
I hope you didn't strain your faculties too much for that, your baldness.
I beg your pardon?
Look, if we play the security footage beyond this point...
Oh my! The footage cuts off!
The camera was running on backup power, but apparently the power cables were damaged. Most likely by the after effects of the explosion. There is no footage after this, be it of criminals or space aliens.
And I thought it was such a good idea, too.
Just because your grandchild is watching from the gallery, it doesn't mean you should try to show off too much, Grandpa Baldness.
Prosecutor Blackwell! How did you know about my grandchild?
I think his grandchild just learned a little about the harshness of the adult world.
Setting aside the issue of grandchildren, I'd like to have the witness continue. Director Cosmos, could you tell us more about when you entered the lounge?
If I must...
Yeah, I mean, it would really help. I hid to avoid getting shot. Fear and sadness are appropriate there. After the killer vanished, I went to the lounge.
Info update.
But that's when Detective Arm appeared from the elevator side door. This is genuine surprise, so I think we can be pretty confident he's telling some amount of truth here. And then the detective shouted at me. These are reasonable emotions to feel there. So you see, the killer could have only escaped to the launch pad, right? Why did everything just disappear at that point? Athena, what do you got for me? What do you think about Director Cosmos' emotional responses, Athena?
Actually, my cat is really sick, you know?
What? Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that.
And on top of that, my dog just won't seem to play with me.
Why are you telling me all this now?
Just humor me, okay? Now, when you heard about my cat, and then about my dog, which story made you feel sadder?
Your cat? The story about your cat, of course. It's only natural.
Exactly. That would be the natural reaction. But there's nothing natural about the director's reactions. I think how each individual reaction changes across the whole testimony will be key.
Sounds unnaturally complicated, but that somehow doesn't surprise me. Very well, let's look at fear. Less fear now. No fear when Detective Arm appeared, but I guess surprise is appropriate there. Fear getting shot at, that's pretty legit. It does seem weird that the second you get shot, all this stuff just goes away, right? Or is it more that he doesn't have as much of an emotional response to saying these words? It is weird that the emotion is just like... But she was trying to call our attention specifically to one thing being scarier than the other. Oh, sure. Right, well, getting shot by this one is pretty scary. But then apparently being shot by this one isn't so scary.
Got it!
No, I didn't got it. You're right, 35 caliber bullets are way less scary. When we view your emotions alongside your testimony, we find the unexpected emotion. Ooh, wait a minute. There really isn't anything strange here.
I don't know, but I think we maybe made a mistake, Mr. Wright.
I think maybe you're right.
Let's take another look. There must be an unexpected emotion here somewhere.
Very well, the fact that all this stuff just vanished the second you thought about the launchpad door.
Nope.
Also, I learned recently you can just hold the mouse down to skip through the dialogue faster, which is nice. Maybe I disabled that the first time we were playing. Can't remember. Did someone already tell me that? Maybe they did. I'm forgetting. I guess the reason he's less afraid and a bit angry at this point is because he knows who Candace Arm is. Maybe they're saying that the fear is lessened here. That's weird because the killer should be in here, but I think he's saying that he was confident the killer was gone, and so he went in to investigate. So he was still scared, but not as scared as specifically when you were shot at. I think it is reasonable to be pretty surprised at this juncture. And then the surprise is wearing off, but then you get shot at, so you're afraid and angry and like, what the hell? It is weird that she supposedly fired a warning shot, but it hit him square in the chest. Did she just mess it up or what? Did I hit surprise last time? Maybe I should hit fear and be like, no, I did hit fear last time. I'm kind of stumped by this, actually. I don't want to get it just by clicking everything. But I mean, it's the fact that all the emotions just drop off here seems relevant when Athena was just... I suppose it's weird that you weren't surprised when you went to the lounge after the killer vanished. But we kind of already pushed on that, didn't we? We said already that you should have been surprised that the killer vanished. I did try fear on this one, right? Yeah, okay, I must have done. Surprise? No, it's the same deal. Sorry, afraid I'm not getting this one. It's gonna be lame when we do get it. I'm gonna be like, what? I didn't understand that. I mean, maybe they're getting at here that he doesn't seem quite nearly as afraid as you would expect after a killer just straight up disappeared, but I think it seems normal to me, because I think the implication is that he understands that they're gone now. So that seems surprising. I mean, I guess it's weird that you would have absolutely no fear or distress whatsoever about someone running at you with a gun. Although I guess he didn't know that she was about to shoot him. Oh, your surprise went down when you got shot at. That doesn't seem right. Got it! Director Cosmos, why were you so surprised when Detective Arm found you and again when she fired? Isn't that a bit unnatural? No, that's very normal. What's weird is that he was less surprised by being shot than her running up.
Sadly, even great men such as myself have ordinary human feelings. Our bodies are bound by the forces of gravity and emotions. Even a great man such as myself experiences surprise on occasion.
Yes, I'm sure you do. But my real point is not the fact that you were surprised, but rather what you were surprised by.
Pardon me?
First, you were surprised when Detective Arm found you in the lounge. And just after that, you were of course again surprised when she shot at you. But considering what you were surprised about, a strange phenomenon occurs here. Director Cosmos, what is strange about your surprise reaction is that you were more surprised when Arm came than when she shot you. More surprised when she came than when she shot you. Sure, you were surprised when Detective Arm shot at you, but the surprise you felt when she found you in the lounge was much greater. The fact that you were more surprised by being simply found than being shot at suggests to me that you were conflicted about whatever it was you were doing there.
The enemy has acquired a new weapon. Commence operation hide under your desk.
Please tell me I finally sunk his battleship. Not yet, Phoenix, but we're getting there. Boss, I'm getting less Discord now. That must mean he really is hiding something about that launch pad door. And whatever he's hiding most likely has something to do with the killer's escape. I wonder what it could be. If he was doing something suspicious around that door, maybe we can spot some change between before he came into the room and after. Well, I think we have our answer. That would be this dial up here. This was the photo taken after the incident, and this was the security footage of the second they came through the door. So between these two times, that shifted, and that's near the door, something strange he was doing. Maybe it's like an emergency lock or something. Or maybe, as I said before, it opens the garbage chute. Maybe we can spot some change between before he came to the room and after. Detective Fulbright gave us a photo taken after the crime. Let's run a comparison. Let's see. This is the footage of the door before Director Cosmos arrived. And this is how the door looked after the director entered the lounge. Hey, look at that! There is a change. Something's definitely different. Director Cosmos.
What is it? What have you been doing up to over there?
Finding the answer to what you were doing when Detective Arm found you, that's what. And that answer lies clearly in this footage. All we have to do is compare it to the photo that was taken during the investigation.
Don't be ridiculous. If you realized you have an answer, you would have pointed it out already.
He's asking for it. This is what changed directly after the incident. Take that! The answer is this knob. I'm glad I found that before they pointed it out. That makes me feel super ego. Not my super ego, but it makes my ego feel super. Your Honor, please take a look at this footage.
Yeah, let's see. My God! There are astronauts in this photograph!
Take a look at the knob next to the launch pad door. As you can see, it's horizontal.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
However, when we investigated the scene of the crime yesterday, the knob was vertical.
And what does that mean?
Good question. It means that sometime before the director arrived and after, someone turned this knob. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-bum-bum, ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Oh no, this is. Anyway, sorry. After the scene was discovered, you were the only one who could have turned the knob. Sorry, I had something stuck in my throat. Come on now, Director Cosmos. Let's hear what you have to say. What were you trying to do by turning that knob by that door?
It's fine. I admit it. God damn it. The segway's wheel's broken. You're right. I did turn that knob. That knob was a safety lock meant to keep the launch pad in place. I was afraid that there would be more explosions, and so I wanted to move the launch pad away.
Oh, like it rotates the whole room round. Right, okay. You wanted to do what? Hey, didn't Ponko tell us something about how they prepare for launch? She said that once the launch pad's fully assembled, it's moved to the launch site. You think that would be pretty difficult to not notice, though, wouldn't you? But the safety lock in the boarding lounge has to be disengaged first. I guess that clears up what this knob is for. Oh, so if the killer escaped in the launch pad 1 corridor, maybe they were transported along with the launch pad to the launch site. How does that work with there being a window here and all? If this came through there, perhaps it just moves in front of the window, but while people were evacuating down there, wouldn't that have, like, killed them? Anyway, maybe I'm just getting confused about the layout here. I don't think so. The Launchpad 1 corridor was filled with smoke. I don't think they could have escaped through that corridor. Well, smoke does rise. I mean, you might not survive, like, 10 minutes, but you might survive, like, I mean, you can hold your breath for a few minutes and lie on the floor, I guess. So then where did the killer escape to? I guess there are still some things we have to uncover. Director Cosmos, I request that you tell us about the moving of the launch pad in more detail.
It's fine. But listen carefully, for I'm about to give history-making testimony.
Please. Oh, right, this is still part of the Moon Matrix. We haven't gotten all the Discord out yet. The doy. I had no choice but to disengage the safety lock. Got it! Why would you ever be happy about that? I had no choice but to disengage the safety lock. You make it sound like you were reluctant to do so, and yet when you did it, you felt some joy as if you were very pleased with yourself. That's probably the fastest contradiction we've gotten in this entire series, or I have anyway.
How do you do it? How do you know everything as if you were there?
Pretty impressive, isn't it? This is the power of analytical psychology.
He might have also just been happy that he got to finally see the thing in action again, because he's super hyped about his space station center. So, care to explain why you felt joy when you disengaged the safety lock? When I think back on the facts we've discovered up to this point, I have to believe that you were trying to fulfill some kind of hidden agenda.
How do you know about that, too?
Because I'm more or less a pro at guessing.
But you have no proof that I had a hidden agenda.
Well, you just admitted it.
And even if I did, I would never ever tell you. So there.
I know they say people regress as they grow older, but you, sir, take the cake.
Ouch. And how could you doubt a man with such great intensity, intelligence, and integrity?
Silence. Silence. You, a man of integrity. Don't make me laugh. Prosecutor Blackwell? What came over him all of a sudden? You've spouted nothing but falsity since you stepped up to the stand. You're not the kind of man that will be glorified in the annals of history. Not for greatness, anyway. Unless you consider great as barefaced liar and honor.
Liar!
His words bite harder than his blade. You moved Launchpad 1 after the explosions. My, how naive you are. Oh, right, there's no power. You failed to realize how even the facts themselves have betrayed you. You know, just a thought, but modern English can be your friend.
Trucy's just going for the jugular today.
And here's a thought for you. Immediately following the bombing, Launchpad 1 was on the boarding lounge 1 side. The police confirmed this on the scene.
What?
Liar! He's still on about that.
So that means the director didn't move the launch pad.
I mean, wait, I don't understand. Blackwell's like, after the explosions happened, you then went and moved launch pad? That can't happen because the launch pad was on the boarding lounge side when the explosions happened. That doesn't make any sense. Sure, it was there when the explosions happened. He's saying he moved it after. That's... If it was there immediately following the bombing, fine, but he didn't say I moved it immediately after the bombing. He said I moved it after the explosions. I still think it's wrong, but because there was no power to the area, but I mean, if the cables to the security camera in the boarding lounge room were damaged, I sort of assume that those same power cables, there are power cables in the same area running to that. Oh no, but I guess we did see that there are like signs and stuff still working and the lock still worked. Anyway, curse my judgment for calling history's greatest liar to the witness stand. Let us leave him to indulge in his lies and war games to his heart's content. Liar!
Objection! But it doesn't make sense. You can't deny that someone turned that knob. And once the safety lock was released, I'm sure the pad must have went somewhere. If we chase down the truth of this issue, we just might find where the killer escaped to. Ah!
You're sure it must have went somewhere? We just might find out? Your arguments are nothing but conjecture, bluffing, and wishful thinking. Stop chasing your fantasies and see reality for what it really is. Or are you not man enough to, boy?
I'm like 6 years older than you! God! Talk about hitting below the belt. Youngins these days. I don't understand it. I'm sure Director Cosmos must have moved the launch pad. The knob was definitely turned after he came to the lounge. But the launch pad is right where it's supposed to be. Wait a minute. Maybe I have it all backwards. What if the director turned the knob not to move the launch pad away, but to bring it back to where it was supposed to be?
What are you blathering about?
What if the launch pad was at the launch site before the incident? And then, well, I guess it would have had to, right? Because why would they have been launching without being at the launch site? And then after the incident, Director Cosmos moved it back to its usual spot. All he had to do was turn the knob to call the launch pad back, and it would be right where the police found it. Ah! You made him sigh like Mr. Starbuck. Was what I said really that off base?
It pains me to have to explain how wrong your own logic is to you. However, our great liar turned the knob only after he discovered the crime scene. Indeed, the pad existed beyond the lounge. Oh, right, he couldn't have entered there. I see what you're saying. Or, sorry, they couldn't have brought the body back through if it was up there, because then the core doesn't go anywhere. Indeed, the pad existed beyond the lounge when our two Astro Wonders made their escape, a fact that has been recorded for posterity on filmless film.
Oh, all right.
So to reiterate, stop chasing your fantasies and see reality for what it really is, boy.
Ah! Can I grip Mr. Wright and focus? We know the launch pad must have been moved, but our deductions and the actual facts of the case are in direct contradiction to each other. Well, maybe the two astronauts never actually boarded the rocket. This footage could be fake, taken with body doubles after the incident or something. On second thought, that's too far-fetched even for me. Actually, that sounds pretty reasonable. Never actually boarded the rocket. That does sound pertinent somehow, doesn't it? Hey, wait a minute. Maybe, just maybe. Huh? Prosecutor Blackwell, what if I told you that the two astronauts never set foot inside the launch pad area, but instead went into another place? Well, the only other corridor that looks that way, to our understanding, would be, why do I not have the full diagram? But anyway, boarding lounge 2 that goes into the museum. Oh my god! I even pointed it out earlier and everything. I was like, why is there a big 2 on the floor? I wonder what that means. I can't believe I'm so stupid. Obviously, they were never in Launchpad Corridor 1. Duh! God damn it. Why do I always get like halfway there and then I'm just like, well, it's probably nothing. Damn it, man. And what if when the director moved Launchpad 1 back, it was not from the launch site, but from another place? What would you say then?
Cut the existential bull or I'll cut you. Mr. Wright, you will explain yourself at once.
I know I'm right. It was all the other way around from the beginning. Very well, Your Honor, let me explain.
Director Cosmos' reason for moving Launchpad 1 was... Wait, I don't understand his point here. But it has just occurred. I might be jumping the gun ahead again, but I can't believe it took me this long to reason out that the 2 here was indicative of Corridor 2. After I specifically pointed out, being like, look at this 2 over here. When that was only like 2 episodes ago, wasn't it? If he felt joy doing it, then to trap the true killer sort of feels a bit more cohesive with that. I doubt he was just switching it because he felt like going to the museum or anything like that. Even someone as ass backwards as him in a situation like this has some sense of what needs to be done. So I think to trap the true killer makes sense. I don't really see how hiding it or how these 2 make it mean anything. Because he wanted to trap the true killer. Right, Dono, need I remind you there was an explosion, and that the corridor between the launch pad and the lounge was thick with smoke? If the killer had been trapped in there, they would have been found as dead as their victim. I guess you're right. Smoke rises. I mean, like, plus we're in a space center with a bunch of spacesuits and oxygen tanks. I don't think it's unreasonable to assume there's a possibility of surviving that, but whatever. Well, I'm glad you both agree. Now here's a penalty for you, Mr. Wright. I don't agree with that penalty, though. Your Honor, please give me another chance. Director Cosmos' reason for moving Launchpad 1 was to hide it? I guess they switch it with another place. I don't understand how any of what is being said here lines up with what he said a moment ago about, because I think he's just come to the same conclusion that I have, that this is Launchpad Corridor 2. So I guess to switch it with another place? As in switch it with the museum? I don't really understand this drop-down list we have here. Because he wanted to switch it with some other place. I'm sorry, but did you say switch it? But what could he possibly have switched the launch pad with? The museum. Oh, you'd be surprised, Your Honor. All it takes is a little thinking outside the box and the answer becomes clear as day. This is what was switched with Launchpad 1. Has to be the museum, because we see the 2 on the floor, but... Take that! Launchpad 1 was switched with... the Space Museum? In the past, the Space Museum used to be Launchpad 2. It has all the same features as Launchpad 1 and can even be moved to the launch site. Meaning the Space Museum and the Launchpad 1 can also be switched with each other.
You can't mean...
The rocket the astronauts boarded was not the one in Launchpad 1. It was the one in the Space Museum. Okay. I understand that they were in Launchpad Corridor 2. I don't understand why they boarded a fake rocket.
What? Balderdash!
And yet, it's the only explanation that accounts for every riddle and inconsistency. This is how the Space Center was just before the incident. I see Launchpad 1 and the Space Museum have already switched places. Okay, so that makes sense as they came out of the one that is marked 2 into Boarding Lounge 1. That makes enough sense. That's right, and with the 2 switched like this, the astronauts entered the Space Museum from Boarding Lounge 1. This allowed the true killer to enter Launchpad 1 from Boarding Lounge 2 and set the bomb on the rocket. Kind of think of it, the door to the Space Museum from Boarding Lounge 2. Welcome! Welcome! The Space Museum is open to the public every day of the year from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Exactly. Anyone can pass through the door to the Space Museum. There's no fingerprint recognition system on that door. But why? Well, I guess we just don't really know the motivation for the bombing anyway. In other words, with the 2 launch pads switched like that, someone other than Mr. Starbuck could have easily planted that bomb. I don't understand. The bombs were confirmed to have gone off on Launchpad 1's rocket, yes? How could they have confirmed where the fires and explosions happened? Oh, no, okay, I think I see what they're getting at. It's not that the corridor itself, the one that moves, has the gate on it. The gate is part of the lounge. So if you swapped this over there, you could put the bombs on the actual rocket, because there's no security on that lounge. Oh, okay, I think that makes sense. Someone other than Mr. Starbuck could have easily planted that bomb. Ugh. After setting the bomb on the rocket, the culprit snuck into the Boarding Lounge 1 and waited there, concealed, in order to kill Mr. Terran when the 2 astronauts emerged from the Space Museum. But why would they be all injured and stuff if the explosions happened on the rocket? The actual rocket, not the museum rocket. I'm not sure I understand that yet. Recall that Miss Blackwell, Mr. Starbuck, and the director all saw a suspicious figure, who we can suppose, after killing Mr. Terran, made their escape into the Space Museum. After that, Director Cosmos switched the 2 launch pads back, without realizing the killer was inside the Space Museum. And that gives them an easy out. That makes enough sense to me. I don't understand why, how Terran was already needing to be carried at that point then, if nothing happened in the Space Museum. The killer then left the Space Museum and made a clean getaway. Yeah! Right, Dono. I see you know how to handle a sword and handle it well. I don't know why Yuri's panicking. I mean, I guess he helped the killer escape, but this at least proves that he wasn't the killer, if this is true. Perhaps I should call you Swordmaster Bluff.
I'm a seasoned warrior who has cut down many a prosecutor.
Silence! But unless you can prove your theory, it's no better than a rusty sword.
That's right. I've no proof I switched back to launch pads.
Have you ever been stabbed by a rusty sword? I think it's probably worse for you than a normal one. Somebody needs a better anger management counselor. If the launch pads really were switched, then there might be a record of it somewhere. At this point, Launchpad 1 and the Space Museum were switched with at this point, Launchpad 1 and the Space Museum was switched with one another. So the corridor beyond the door should be the one that belongs to the Space Museum. Let's see, this is an image of the Launchpad 1 corridor. There's a 1 on the floor and everything. Do you see anything different when we compare to the security footage? Huh? That number on the floor. Aw man, why wouldn't they let me point that out? Well, what do you know? It looks like we have our proof after all, Prosecutor Blackwell.
And if this is just another bluff?
Oh, don't worry. It's all right here. Right in this footage. Proof that beyond this door is the corridor to the Space Museum. Very well then, answer this for me if you would. What in this footage proves that the corridor belongs to the Space Museum? Yet another instance where I feel like he just said the number, so there's nothing else I can possibly point to. Take that! There's a 1 on the floor of the Launchpad 1 corridor. Like, even if they were worried that no one was going to pick up on that, if they had just cut that down a bit to the floor, and then I would have had the wherewithal to look and like analyze the floor and see for myself if I hadn't figured that one already. But I feel like that's a pretty I guess we don't have this photograph as evidence, do we? So that wouldn't really be fair. But they could have done something like what in this picture that is on screen now is set aside from the security footage, so you could consult the security footage from the menu like this, and then go back out like this and be like, oh, it's different, and then point at it. Anyway, there's a 1 on the floor of the Launchpad 1 corridor. But take a look at the floor of the corridor in the security footage. Do you see the number on the floor behind the astronauts? It doesn't look like a 1, does it? That's because what you see is actually part of a 2. What? Why is it a 2 and not a 1? That's because the corridor you see is the one to the Space Museum. And so that means the corridor in this footage was not filled with smoke. That's right, because the explosion didn't occur in the Space Museum. That explosion occurred in Launchpad 1, on the opposite side of the Space Museum. And now that we know that the 2 astronauts escaped from the Space Museum, the mystery from the previous trial of how they got down the ladder is cleared up. Mr. Terran, carrying Mr. Starbuck, simply took the elevator from the upper level down to the middle level. Just incredible. The 2 launch pads were actually switched. But you'd think someone would have noticed that in an event of this magnitude. And it doesn't explain why Mr. Starbuck needed to be carried. Everyone was down in the basement shelter when the launch pads were swapped back. Except for everyone who was being evacuated by the window, right? There's no way anyone could have known what was happening on the surface. Or are they saying that everyone had just gotten down to the basement shelter at that point? I mean, we didn't really have any time frame that would let us know that, I guess. That's the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth, apparently. It's where the Space Museum might be on that door that was all in shambles. Or no, sorry. Bye! The rocket was planted on the bombs were planted on the actual rocket. Okay, that mostly makes sense then. The bombs were planted on the actual rocket, so that when it got swapped back, everyone was all, wow, the bomb must have blown up here while it was here, and then the astronauts escaped through here. But in reality, what happened was it blew up when it was on the other side, got swapped back, and so in reality, the astronauts just went into the Space Museum for some reason, and then Starbucks somehow got injured and needed to be carried down the elevator. Is there an elevator in the Space Museum? I guess they just made it, we were to assume, because they said it can be launched the same way as Launchpad 1, that it has all the same facilities. Anyway, no more lies, Director Cosmos. It's high time you told us the truth!
My honor, my glory, everything is slipping away. Time to deploy my ultimate weapon, galactic engine, ignition. What? It's gone here, it won't stop! My stars, my glory!
Alright, Colette.
No, not that way!
Bailiff?
Bailiff, on your steed and after that witness!
Please. Does the bailiff get a horse? Or do they just also get a cool segue? I'm a bit over time on this episode, but I feel the drive to keep going, so I think I'm going to.
I see we managed to retrieve you before you came to any bodily harm.
Director Cosmos, do you admit you switched the launch pads?
This is true. This poor mustache. I switched Launchpad 1 for the Space Museum. Oh, it's good to hear words I can believe for a change.
Before you do, Your Honor, 2 things. First, we don't know if Mr. Terran had prior knowledge of the switch. As for Mr. Starbuck, he was unaware of his surroundings thanks to his medication. Oh. Did they already say he overdosed on that? I don't remember that being proved ever. Oh, right, well, he said his memory was hazy at the event. Either way, Mr. Terran would have realized the instant he stepped into the Space Museum that it wasn't the right launch pad. That it had to have been switched with launch pad 1. So my first question is, if the Space Museum was perfectly fine, why did Mr. Terran feel the need to put on such a dramatic display? As for my second question... Okay, so I'm glad Phoenix is on the wavelength with me there. He's like, why were they so weird about it? I'd like Director Cosmos to tell us why he switched the 2 launch pads to begin with.
Please. I can't. I exercise my right to remain silent. But I will say, my hands were tied. I was only doing what I could to keep my men from getting caught in that blast.
Hence the joy you felt at doing it, I suppose.
The director is terrified. He must have one heck of a reason for not wanting to explain why. Him seeming like the killer is pretty unlikely now. Which really, the only one person that I can think that leaves is Aura. Probably not a good time to try and pry it out. Probably not a good time to try and pry it out. God, that's so hard to say. Probably not a good time to try to pry it out of him, huh?
Excuse me. Would you mind if I picked up my stars? Without my badge of rank, I'm nothing.
I mean, you still have a few.
I don't see why not. Bailiff, help the director retrieve his stars.
If they actually all fall off his outfit, I didn't notice. That's amazing. Oh yeah, they were. That's brilliant.
It appears the possibility of a culprit other than the defendant has presented itself.
Mr. Starbuck, is there anything you wish to say?
I don't get it.
Don't get it? What don't you get?
Director, why did you do all that? From the very beginning, you never meant for the launch to go ahead, did you?
You tricked us.
Mr. Starbuck.
Starbuck, my boy. I'm sorry. I can't tell you the reason why, but I had to do it to protect the Space Center. Director,
Will I ever get the chance to go into space again?
Yes, of course. I won't rest until it happens. I will get you into space again, my boy.
And the dream was still alive. Silence! You're not going into space, Starbuck, but to prison. I won't have it any other way. Why are you so hung up on him? Yes, I accept that the launch pads really were switched. God, that heavy breathing just now made me lightheaded. And if there were a third person at the scene, I suppose they could have escaped. But I have yet to see proof of this third person's escape via the Space Museum.
Oh, that's a good point.
He's right, I don't have any proof. Who else could have moved the dial, though, is what I want to know. Starbuck, you will spill everything you know.
What? Me?
Where did you get those bombs? Tell me now! Well, he is not the... Whoa there. If you don't, my blade shall feast on your blood. I don't think he was the bomber, man.
If I'm gonna die, I wanna die in space.
I have to do something. Solomon Starbuck, prepare yourself. Thank you, Fulbright.
Now, you know violence isn't the answer, Prosecutor Blackwell.
That annoyingly cheerful laugh. There can be none other than...
Bobby Fulbright at your service. Champion of righteousness, Bobby Fulbright, here. In justice we trust.
Detective Fulbright?
Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Lawyer. Hope I'm not too late.
Did we send him off to do something? I kind of forgot.
I don't believe we had an appointment. I tried to hurry, but I ended up helping a little old lady across the street. And then I had to break up a cat fight. I tell you, justice sure is a full-time job.
Was it a fight between cats? Or... why are you here again?
Because the defendant isn't the culprit, and I came to make sure that justice is served.
I don't have any idea what you're talking about. Fulbright, I always thought you were a bit touched in the head, but have you finally succumbed?
Nope, but it looks like you've succumbed to this phantom of yours. Open your eyes and let the evidence of justice uncloud your judgment.
He's found something then. What evidence?
Come to think of it, he did say something about us finding us some evidence. Thanks, you two. I feel a lot better now that I've been able to get that off my chest. I'm going to work extra hard to find that perfect piece of evidence for you.
Oh yeah, sure.
Hey, well, look at that. Perfect. I didn't think he was serious, though.
So what is it, Detective? Is it something that will prove Mr. Starbuck innocent?
It is indeed. Have a look at this.
The lighter. What's this? A lighter?
That's right. A lighter thought to have been used by the culprit, no less. The Space Museum's cleaning robot picked it up. It has the victim Clay Terran's blood along with his killer's fingerprints on it.
And the killer's fingerprints are? What? Or a black hole.
Did say that whoever it was had good taste in knickknacks, so perhaps she were the one.
Order! Order! Detective Fulbright, can I assume that the fingerprints don't belong to the defendant?
You bet! Mr. Starbuck is totally innocent.
This is it. This is just what I needed. The lighter found on the floor of the Space Museum. The true culprit's fingerprints are on it and the victim's blood. But whose fingerprints are they? Why is that not mentioned? Your Honor, this is decisive evidence that supports the defense's earlier claim. It doesn't tell us whose fingerprints, though. Does it still need time to analyze? And they're gonna be like, wow, we're waiting for that.
Explain yourself, Mr. Wright.
With pleasure, Your Honor. Recall where this lighter was found. Based on that, we can extrapolate that after the killer murdered Mr. Terran, they escaped with the lighter in hand to the Space Museum, where they dropped it. The switching of the two launch pads occurred. Then finally, the killer left through the boarding lounge 2 and made their escape. Meanwhile, Mr. Starbuck was found in the boarding lounge 1 after the murder, a fact that Director Cosmos has testified to. Therefore, Mr. Starbuck couldn't have possibly been the one to drop the lighter there. Silence. But the defendant had free reign of the area until Director Cosmos appeared. Could he not have dropped the lighter in the Space Museum during that span of time? Objection! You'd like that to be true, wouldn't you? But Director Cosmos testified that right after he saw the mysterious figure with a lighter, he went into the lounge and found the unconscious Mr. Starbuck. In other words, Mr. Starbuck wouldn't have had the time to double back to the museum. No, Prosecutor Blackwell, this lighter could only have been dropped by the real killer. Most importantly, Mr. Starbuck's fingerprints were nowhere to be found on this lighter. I think you understand what this means, don't you? This piece of evidence unequivocally proves that Mr. Starbuck wasn't the culprit.
This does indeed appear to be decisive evidence that proves the defense's claims.
Is Aura gonna pop up and be like, wait, hold on a moment. As for the remote switch that was found in Mr. Starbuck's pocket, we can assume it was planted by the killer on the unconscious Mr. Starbuck.
No. There must be some mistake.
Frankly, Prosecutor Blackwell, I've been worried about you. You've been chasing this phantom for 7 whole years. I understand your urgency because tomorrow...
Silence! Statute of limitations.
Fulbright, you promised never to speak of that.
Huh? Tomorrow? What about tomorrow?
Given the body of evidence, I think it's safe to say the defendant is innocent, in light of the fact that it was impossible for him to have committed the crime. A few unanswered questions remain, so I look forward to seeing what you two uncover.
That feels like a solid ending place for this. It's entirely possible that in a few seconds someone's going to pull an objection and throw a wrench into the whole thing, but we shall see next time on Ace Attorney Dual Destinies, because that is all for now. Made some excellent progress in that. I was a little wobblier through this one. We lost 2 points of health, is that right? And then I failed a whole lot on Moon Matrix, but never mind that. Still not bad progress we made today. I highly doubt we're out of the woods yet, but this is a massive leap forward. I want to know who those fingerprints belong to. Next video on the channel is going to be some more Pikmin 4, though, where we are rocketing towards the end. And I can't wait, so thank you so very much for coming around. Hopefully I will see you around. Admiral's going to be out of here now. Peace! Nice even squad here. I won't send anyone back with that spring just yet. We'll get that some other time. We'll do something more important first. Don't break the little sprout. It doesn't even get you a pellet yet. I'm sure it's on purpose that they Pikmin get very easily distracted in this game. Like I didn't even use the swarm feature to tell them to hit attack those pellets. They just started